Technical stuff. Hello. Okay. We got it. We got it. Now my lips just won't work. Give me a sec. Okay, is it working now? Yeah, it's working now. Okay, we got it, we got it. So, today we have another lore video on Honkai the Third, and I wanted just to do something. I noticed this, so I was watching a new anime between yesterday and today, and the reason why I didn't have anything going on yesterday is I was actually shortly hospitalized. Unfortunately, it wasn't for anything big. I woke up with like some excruciating pain and found out it was a kidney stone. But yeah, I was taken to the hospital by ambulance. Had no idea what was going on, but luckily it was not a huge deal. It's just it's one of the most painful things I've ever had in my life, and hopefully no one ever gets it. None of you. This means make sure you watch tea and soda and things that you could drink. I'm pretty thin, so I don't normally drink a lot of soda. I drink a lot of tea though, and that can cause it over years and years of not drinking enough water and drinking tea or a high sodium diet, which I have a high sodium diet. So it can create an environment where your kidneys will start to crystallize calcium and create kidney stones. Who knew? But anyway, I am fixing that. I'm drinking a lot more water now and doing my research on it so I don't have another one, because that was horrifying pain. I had so much pain I was shaking. But like I said, turned out not to be a big health deal, even though it felt like one. But that's why I haven't been online recently. Oh, thank you to all the new subs, by the way. I did throw out some shorts yesterday, and a bunch of you guys subscribed. I appreciate that. I really do. My goal is to get to 500 or 1,000 before the first year is done, so that I can, progress in the YouTube, ladder climbing that you have to do for a channel. I appreciate everything you guys done and watching my videos. It really means a lot to me. Well, one of my more popular video series is this lore video, and because I'm not up to doing a game stream today, because I'll still have to go to work today and stuff, but I'm just not 100% after everything that happened yesterday, unfortunately. So I don't feel like I could work and do a game stream or anything. So the next best thing is a reaction video. I should be able to work on an AMV tonight, and it's going to be of the series behind me. I think that's what my next AMV is going to be. It was actually a really good series. It's only 2 seasons long or whatever, but it was really fun. The thing why I have it here, though, is because it is Star Rail related, and believe me, it's funny. So one of the most prolific voice acting jobs in Star Rail is the actress we're going to talk about here, but I never expected her to be in my anime. Because I don't know if I ever heard her in an anime before, but let's go. It's going to be you know what? Let me move my avatar slightly so you can see her. So that's the sister of the main character right there on the right. And I was all like, where have I heard her voice before? And then it came to me in this clip.
But in reality?
Lame. Guess if I had to settle...
It took me forever. This is the second season. I didn't recognize it the first season. But it took me forever that this character is... March 7th.
Pictures of everything that's new to me. That way I won't won't forget about them.
I know, right? She was in my anime. Okay. I just, it was fun for me to see. Today we are going to do...
I found myself where I knew I needed to finish my education. I chose Purdue Global because the faculty
within the bound.
So this is from Homo Labs, and with all of my videos we are gonna like, and I will post in the description the link to the video. So we'll like, we'll watch, we'll see what this is all about. And then I have a timeline video to watch today.
There has never been a more tragic yet beautiful relationship than the one between a Kaslana and suffering. Whether that's a man who carries the hopes and dreams of his era into a new world, or a...
Now, to be fair, I have already known that Kevin and Finon are parallel to each other. It was obvious in the reactions I watched when Kaslana first appeared on screen and called himself Kaslana in Star Rail. Everyone was freaking about Honkai the Third. So I already know a lot about this. I haven't seen Kevin in game yet, and I don't know like the full extent. I do know that he comes from the past and he was able to like survive somehow or whatever. Don't know everything about him. I'll learn something new. I know everything about Finon, so...
And who is so desperate to stall the birth of a disaster to the point where he's willing to repeat the same cycle of suffering over and over, desperately clinging to the hope that maybe, someday, someone will show and break the chain of suffering that entangled his world.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that weird music was coming from the video and not something I had in the background. It's from the video. I'm not sure why they chose to go with that song.
Just how today's sponsor can break the chain on your wallet and can allow you to top up in-game at a much cheaper price. Wait, how did I get this monthly?
Let me go ahead and my calibration is off from where I'm sitting now. I'm not sure why it was off, but alright.
Card. Well, it's thanks to today's video sponsor.
I swear I'm not sleepy. My eyeball's off. I think it's because I keep on changing right when the calibration happens. Or maybe I just don't have the camera focused correctly. I think that's probably it. There we go. It was the camera.
TopUpLive.com. If you want to top up just like I did now, all you have to do is open your browser, go to topuplive.com, and there you can find 100 of the most trending games and apps in which you wanna top.
Oh, really? I turned off YouTube somehow by doing that. So if you're chatting in YouTube, I can't see it. Give me a sec. I don't know how I did that. Probably exiting, what I was doing. Okay. Hi, I can see YouTube chat now, so. Alright.
Up. Just select Honkai Star Rail or any other game for that matter, select your pack, carefully enter your Honkai Star Rail UID if you buy for Star Rail, hit buy, and boom! Stellar Jades or monthly cards straight to your account. You can also use my promo code HOMU to get a 12% discount. Thousands of gamers use this website to buy Jades at a cheaper rate. The website can 100% be trusted and has a ton of positive reviews that you can check out for yourself before buying to have an ease of mind. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and don't forget to use my promo code HOMU for a 12%.
Well, we're gonna watch his ads because I think it's unfair for me to react to a video and not watch the ads that they pay for.
GovPlus is revolutionizing how you apply for any
Or
of
that
these
he gets
important
paid for.
documents.
Alright.
Apply
The
Okay.
beauty of a true Kaslana lies in the tragedy they face, a tragedy in which they always rise up to become heroes and save everyone no matter the cost. It's a name that symbolizes perseverance, hope, and most of all, a will that carries all the burdens of humanity. In this sense, both Finan in Honkai Star Rail and Kevin in Honkai Impact 3rd are perfect examples of how a Kaslana will always hold the burden of humanity and become.
Yeah, so what we need to learn about more in Impact the Third, which I haven't got to know yet, is like the Kasana name and the bloodline. We've started getting glimpses of it, but we don't know what it truly means yet. And I'm sure this video will give us a little bit of an idea.
Become the deliverer who pays the path forward. Welcome! In today's video, we'll take a look at both Finan and Kevin and talk about how their stories parallel each other in both games. First and foremost, let's talk about how Kevin and Finan are represented in both games and also about how the name Kaslana or Kaslana, depending on the game, carries a similar meaning yet in a different form. In Honkai Impact 3rd, the name Kaslana is passed down to Kevin Kaslana's descendants.
So Ryan, I love you to pieces, but I told you not Tuesday. I told you not this week. So you just have to live with that. Thank you. Bye.
In the last moments of the previous era, Dr. May used Kevin's and her own genes to create a test tube baby because, well, Kevin was unable to have
Bye.
kids, or touch anybody for that matter, due to his mantis powers. That child ended up among the few who survived the calamity of the previous era and was transported to the current era, where he would be named Adam Kaslana and be the first among Kevin's descendants who carried the Kaslana.
Boycott what? I'm confused. Alright, so anyway, let's go back because I am watching chat for, I don't know, my friend is having a meltdown, so everyone say hi. Alright.
The current era, where he would be named Adam Kaslana and be the first among Kevin's descendants.
Wait, Adam Kasana, like Adam, like first man Adam, is that where we're getting with this? Adam Kasana. Huh. So it's interesting. I don't have a theory yet. This is new information to me. So Adam Kaslana, which is the first Kevin? Or the first among Kevin's descendants who would carry Kaslana bloodline. So you have Kevin, and then you have Adam. Okay, gotcha.
Who carried the Kaslana bloodline. As time passed, Kevin detached himself from his family, and although he took up the name Kaslana, he was so tormented by guilt that he never thought that he deserved to lead a happy life alongside his family in the new era. The only instance we see Kevin interact with the Kaslana family was when he was trapped into the Sea of Quanta and made contact with Siegfried to teach him how to access his dormant powers.
Oh, Siegfried. So Siegfried's gonna be more prevalent. Interesting.
Are one of the three major families.
I did get corrected last time. I thought it was Kiana's mother that was in the Kaslana bloodline, but it turned out to be Siegfried being the Kaslana bloodline. So, all right. So we're learning new things.
Third, alongside with the Apocalypse family and the Shariak family. They are a family of very strong and talented warriors, but at the same time they are very rash, oftentimes.
So what I'm seeing now is there's like 3 special families, and Kaslana is one of them. Interesting.
Into a battle without a solid plan, resulting in a lot of casualties. It was quite common for Kaslanas to die young. The name was both a blessing and a curse, and you may say, but Homo, Kevin is not like that. He's very cold, serious and calculated. I mean, yes, the Kevin that we know now. But remember, he didn't start like this. Kevin in his younger years was the textbook definition of what a Kaslana should be. He only started to act like this after he went through the pain caused by the Honkai, became a mantis and started losing the friends and the people around him.
A mantis.
And you can see the same thing happening to other Kaslanas to some extent, but mostly with Kiana. As she goes through her struggles and becomes more mature, she gets a lot colder and closes herself up. Of Of course, luckily for her, she had people around who supported her and she was able to bounce back. But if nobody was around her, chances are that Kiana would have gone down a very similar path to Kevin. But yeah,
Interesting.
my point is that Kaslanas are a family of quote-unquote heroes.
That was
who always
some
put
heavy
the good of others above their own. A family.
That was some heavy imagery. I wonder if Kevin offed himself at some point. That's what it seems like. Interesting.
Of people who will do anything in their powers to save others. A family of people who will fight until the end and carry the burden of humanity on their shoulders, even at the cost of their own life. It's a family who has enormous willpower and a family who was at the front of the battlefield against the Honkai for the majority of the time. Now, unlike Honkai Impact 3, in Honkai Star Rail the name Kaslana is not used to describe a family of people or a specific bloodline. It's more so a title done by the hero of Amphorius, who keeps repeating the same cycle over and over in the hopes of finding a way to overcome tragedy and liberate the people from the curse of Iron Tomb. It's a name that we see Finan adopt after he starts the Eternal Recurrence, reliving Amphorius' last cycle, gathering the core flames of the Crisis Heirs, and after his body started failing due to the sheer number of core flames collected, passes on his memories to the Finan born in every new cycle to continue his mission. In case you didn't know, here's a quick reminder about Finan and the entire Amphorius story. Amphorius is basically a big experiment run by Lygus in the hopes of developing the perfect formula for destruction and awakening Iron Tomb, one of the Lord Ravagers of Destruction. Amphorius is in fact one of the scepters created by King Rupert II and abandoned by Nust that simulates a world where it tries to perfect.
So the scepter was abandoned by King, but we also know the scepter is a part of Noose, like, so as Horda put it, his divine corpus, right? So the scepter, the original scepter, is actually a part of Noose, which allows Iron Tomb to forge with the scepter and allows him to destroy Erudition, if that was the case, because Erudition, Noose to Erudition, one of the ways to kill him is to kill him by his own logic or whatever, and if you make the calculations destruction, Iron Tomb being a part of Noose would be able to destroy the Erudition, which was Sandor's plan.
The equation for destruction, also known as the Dark Tide. In order to perfect the equation, the scepter kept running the simulation, and after a certain point, the simulation evolved into the Amphorius that we know today, with the Crisis Heirs gathering the core flames and making way for the Era Nova, inheriting the powers of the Titans and becoming the new gods of the next cycle. After figuring out Lygus' plan, the original Finan and Cyrene attracted Fuli's gaze to Amphorius to create the Eternal Recurrence, which is the constant repeating of the last experiment cycle where Kaslana goes back in time and prevents Iron Tomb's rebirth by stopping Era Nova and collecting the core flames over and over.
Interesting.
Also, for those asking about Cyrene, her soul basically fused with Kaslana's ceremonial blade. You can even say that Kaslana is more like a title than an actual name for him. I mean, it is his name, but it's also a symbol of finance, unwavering conviction, and hope for the future. In the 33,550,336th recurrence,
that looks a lot like Kevin,
that the Trailblazer and Anhung arrive in Amphorius, the bearer of the name Kaslana is the Flame Reaver. After Finan defeats him during the 3.4 main story quest, the Flame Reaver passes on his name and his mission to Finan to continue in the next cycle, mission that is later passed on to the Trailblazer, while Kaslana goes on to confront Nanook and ultimately gets absorbed by Iron Tomb. It's also interesting to note that both Finan and Cyrene started to speak and interact with an imaginary entity called the Hero Within, who would show up at the end of the cycle and remind Finan of his mission. For some unknown reason, Lygus notes that the Hero Within resembles the Trailblazer, which is also the reason why Finan trusted them with his mission. It's very clear that after a certain point, Finan realized that he cannot win this fight, and all he can do is stall for time in the hopes that another force beyond Amphorius will come and save them. Well, that force turned out to be the Nameless, more specifically the Trailblazer, who is the embodiment of a true hero envisioned by Sarini and Finan. Interestingly enough, even in Honkai Impact 3rd, Kaslana is not a real name. Well, it is now, but it didn't started like a real name.
Oh, it was like a hero's call. And that's what they did in Amphorius, but it probably... So one of the things I found in my research about Hoyle, the Honkai verse and everything, they make the story vague on purpose and choose to bring out certain plots that they didn't have envisioned, but it fits with the story because they set the pieces there. And it's really well done. It's a really different take. They make the story in a way, and they put a bunch of puzzle pieces together, and then they just throw them out. And whatever puzzle piece they choose to go with, they elaborate on it. It's really cool. It shouldn't work, but it works because they make all these puzzle pieces with a story in mind for them, and then they choose their path. I think it's a really cool idea.
In a sense. You see, the people of the previous era, where Kevin is from, didn't have family names. So he was never born as Kevin Kaslana. He was born as Kevin. Just Kevin. He started using the name Kaslana only after arriving in the current era, in a way paralleling how Finan started using the name Kaslana only after he took on the mission of eternal recurrence. Now, let's talk about how the two heroes parallel each other. Like I previously said, they are both deliverers tasked with the mission of saving their world from annihilation. You can make the argument that in Finan's case, the stakes are even higher, since Iron Tomb's birth would result in the destruction of countless worlds, not just one. But that's besides the point. It's also interesting to see that both carry out imperfect plans. In Kevin's case, he's tasked with carrying out Project Stigma, which, if you played Honkai Impact 3rd...
It's really funny. So someone explained this to me in one of my lore videos. I think it was Tomato. But he said it's really funny because Finan is fire, and Kaslana or Kevin in Honkai Impact the 3rd is ice. And you notice they both have similar transformations, but Will Finan is mostly gold. Kevin looks completely black, like some black wings and stuff. It's also
interesting to see that
so black and white, gold, and
in Kevin's case, he's tasked with carrying out
black wing right there.
Which, if you played Honkai Impact 3rd, you know how messed up it is. For my HSR-only viewers, Project Stigma is basically a fail-safe, last resort plan against the Honkai, where Kevin inherits the authority of finality from the Cocoon of Finality, which is the entity behind the Honkai phenomena on Earth, and with the help of Mistalin and other members of the World Serpent Organization,
that seems very familiar to what we're doing now.
Which will eventually merge into a giant spiritual entity that can ascend to godhood and coexist with the Honkai. At the same time, humanity's concepts
very similar
form and live on as basically living concepts, aka stigmata. But I don't
very similar.
Too much details here. If you are interested,
that's almost a Amphorius story in a nutshell.
Multiple videos on Project Stigma that you can watch.
So Project Stigma is Amphorius.
Wasn't perfect, and he knew that. That's why he and his companions were always searching for a better solution. But unfortunately, they couldn't find one. In the same way, Finan's solution is also flawed because, well, he can't do anything but stall for time. In fact, Kaslana clearly states that the only way out for them is the intervention of a force from outside Amphorius, which may or may not come. Luckily for both, their strong conviction to hold on paid off and their wishes were realized. In Kevin's case, Kiana and the people of the current era came up with a better solution. And in Finan's case, the Trailblazer and Dan Heng showed up and were able to break the eternal cycle of suffering that he endured. It's also interesting to notice how they both wished for someone to surpass them to come along with a better solution and finish the job in their stead, passing on their legacy and mission to a person more fit to complete the job, Kiana and the Trailblazer. In Kiana's case, she had to prove to Kevin that her conviction surpassed his by defeating him and taking over the power of finality. And in
that fight scene looks incredible. Well, can't wait to get there.
Really fight. I mean, you can argue that the Flame River was in fact the final boss of the first first half of Amphorius, but the Trailblazer never proved themselves directly. It was more like a long-winded process where Kaslana realized that the Trailblazer is the only one capable of ending this crisis after journeying together as Finan and seeing them in action. They are both flawed people who try their best to protect everything around them. They both started as pure-heart innocent youths who, due to unfortunate circumstances, had no choice but to pick up arms and become cold and ruthless soldiers that carry on the mission to save everyone, even as the people around them die or turn against them. Even their designs is meant to symbolize that. Both Finan and Kevin are pretty plain, not ugly, plain. Which is intentional because they are meant to represent regular dudes with nothing special about them rising to the challenge of defending humanity. They are the heroes born from humanity's perseverance, pure, strong, with unwavering conviction,
Okay.
always surrounded by an air of sadness.
I can kind of see that. I can kind of see that. Two things. One, why is Ryan screaming? Two, why does he say Kaslana with heavy emphasis on the part of the ward? So, I will picture Ryan has had a hard week, but I unfortunately can't see him this week, so that's why he's screaming. I was hospitalized yesterday with a kidney stone, but it was so much pain that we had no idea what was going on, and I was taken by ambulance to the hospital. So I told him I can't see him this week. It's been too much for me. That's why I didn't have any videos or do any streaming yesterday or anything. It's because I was still recovering. Number two, the emphasis on Kaslana. Hoyo Labs told us that Kaslana didn't start out by being a person. It was more of an idea, and then later on in the story, as I explained earlier, later on in the story, Kaslana turned out to be a person, but it probably was not intended to be that way originally. So that's why he's talking about Kaslana more as a title than a name, even though it is a name. But it became a name later on, while Kaslana, the idea of Kaslana was presented to us originally as a title.
And tragedy. They are both perfect heroes stuck in imperfect ways.
Alright, well that's our first video today. Oh, you missed it at the very beginning of the stream, topside. You should check it out. So Skylar Davenport, I was watching an anime like while I was recovering, and it turned out she's one of the actresses in that anime, and I didn't realize it till like the second season. I was like, wait, she sounds just like March.
Within the boundaries of the Honkai.
Okay, we've already seen that. Did I have the video up twice? I don't know why I had the video up twice. Alright, let me see what the next video we have scheduled here. I wanted to do the timeline one. Okay, here's the timeline one.
Before Omega XL, I lived with
That's
a lot
an
of pain.
ad, guys.
That's
I'm
why
not
I
going to make you
created
see that.
Omega XL.
Alright,
This video
alright. Let's pull this up. Yes, I would like to visit that site.
Go ahead, make your day with Samsung OLED S9.
This video contains spoilers.
Alright, as always, we are gonna like the video. This tells us about the This tells us about the timeline in Star Rail. Now that we're perceiving that is the same universe but different galaxies, someone convinced me in my other lore video that this was the case. They had a good argument for it. I can't remember the name on the top of my head. In fact, I have my phone right here. I should be able to remember his name. It's very Hayayu. He had a good argument that I couldn't counter. So for the time being, we are thinking of this as not parallel universes, but different worlds. I don't know if I believe him on the Himiko thing. I think Himiko, there's something special about her that is related to the other Himiko. I think that for sure. But Welt's thing about how similar people can be from different worlds, and how they can even have the same name or similar stories and still be different people. We are going with that for like the main theory. Okay? Alright.
Spoilers for the entire Honkai series, plus Genshin.
So this is like time of events, I'm hoping. I haven't seen this video, of course. So I'm hoping it's about time of events. He's not talking. Maybe this is like an introduction. Okay, better. I was hoping my sound didn't crap out.
因为原神是一个非常非常年轻的团队，大家其实没有太多经验，但是充满着勇
We
气
started
和
with full
热爱，
courage
所以
and
我们就一
passion.
直开始做了。
They literally stole Zelda framework for during this time. This game came out in 2020 for Genshin. They literally stole Zelda's idea that came out in 2017.
Interconnected cosmological structure in which all the Hoyoverse games take place.
Yep.
In today's video, we will focus on its history and evolution with the addition of each
Cool.
new game. And yes, I know Genshin is not technically part of the Honkai series, but
They are.
it is part of the Honkai universe.
Yes.
So yeah, I wanted to address that before the actually guys appear in the comments. This video is part of a series that explores different facets of the Honkai universe.
I think that's funny. He's stopping the comments. I consider Genshin a Honkai game. I'm not gonna lie. I 100% consider it. After playing just a little while of Genshin, I can already tell the inner framework of Honkai game. In fact, one of the characters that you can roll for right now, Sean Han, is literally Don Han, like his counterpart. So, yeah, they are definitely connected.
Other videos in the series, like this one where I talk about how the inconsistent use of the terminology makes the cosmology a lot more complicated to understand.
Yeah, that was our last
I'll
video.
leave a link to a playlist in the description. This video series was made possible with the help of the HoYoStance community, so a big shout out to them for all the help.
Okay, cool. We're gonna get some good knowledge here.
Let's take a look at some of the early works that laid down the foundation of the Honkai universe. Kai Aoyu, Liu Wei, and Yu Hao Luo, the three founders of MiHoYo, were working together on games as university students even before creating the company. Back in 2010, they developed an
Apparently, it's really funny. Apparently, someone told me that they really wanted to make anime girls. And, of course, China has rules against certain things. But they outsourced to Japan for a lot of the manga stuff and whatnot, especially Kasana's taste in relationships. I'm just gonna lay that out there. But it's really funny. They really liked anime girls and they wanted to make games of anime girls. I'm guessing that's why Honkai the Third started out as with Valkyries and having the women in the series be naturally resistant towards Honkai energy. I'm guessing that's the reason why.
Isometric tile
It makes sense, but it's still
The Legend of Saha.
makes them.
This game would go on to be the prototype for many ideas they use in the future games, mainly Genshin Impact. The game's protagonist was called Misei Nanatsuki.
By the way, also Zelda was also a big thing, which he might not even talk about. But Zelda, for sure, the way Genshin plays and the world in the first 18 levels of the adventure, it's very reminiscent of a Zelda game that came out 3 years before this game. But I digress. Not Honkai the Third, but Genshin. It came out 3 years before.
And she was the prototype for Kiana in March 7th. Some of the characters in her name refer to an archaic way to say March, and Tsuki literally
interesting.
means moon. She was supposed to be the protagonist of Fly Me to the Moon, the first game released by MiHoYo, but she was
kind of looks like
replaced by
Firefly
Kiana
right there.
later on. The action of the game takes place in the two nations of Neylan and Sumeru. The protagonist lost her memories and is journeying to recuperate them and get revenge on the gods of that world, who are real assholes,
very
by the
interesting.
way. Kai Aoyu, the developer of the project and the producer of Genshin Impact, took inspiration from his old game when crafting the world of Teyvat. There's even an NPC in Inazuma named after
He also took inspiration from Zelda. I'm not gonna not say that, because I feel like the world of Genshin so far in my gameplay is more reminiscent of Zelda than anything else. Even the glider system is Zelda. The stamina system, Zelda. The land and the way the trees flow, and Zelda!
protagonist of the game called Yayoi Nanatsuki. Later, in 2011, the three university students founded MiHoYo and released their first game as an independent developer, Fly Me to the Moon. The game was a puzzle game about Kiana Kaslana, a magical girl that wanted to, well, fly to the moon, which, as the developers admitted, served as a basis for the story of Honkai Impact Third Part 1. Kiana would then go on to be the protagonist of 3 out of the 4 existing Honkai games. Next year, in 2012, MiHoYo would release the first game in the Honkai series called Honkai Gakuen, localized as Zombie Gal Kawaii.
Okay, this is one of the games we
Can you
can't
tell
play.
that they were hardcore otaku? The game was a side-scroll shooter based on the popular anime and manga series High School of the Dead. Kiana returns as the protagonist, but
That's interesting. It was based on a very popular anime and manga. That's cool. I had more to say about that, but I don't want to ruin High School of the Dead for anyone that wants to watch it. Never mind. It's a very short series, so I don't want to ruin it.
this time, instead of flying to the moon, she kills zombies with a gun, which kinda became her main weapon.
It also inspired some other anime, like we could locate. I can't say that. Can't say that well. The man. Chisato is the main character of it, but it inspired that one where girls of school age are actually assassins, and they take out the world's like nastiest criminals because they seem so innocent and unassuming. They can do assassinations pretty easily. So that inspired that one as well.
The rest of the series.
In my opinion.
Unfortunately, due to the download-based charging monetization of the game, it wasn't very successful and almost led the company to bankruptcy.
Ooh.
In a last attempt to save MiHoYo, the developers decided to rework the game and re-release it with the title Honkai Gakuen 2, known as Guns Girl Z in the West, but this time, instead of charging per download, they released it as a live service gacha game, decision that will change the entire company forever and end up draining our wallets in the future.
Yeah.
Due to this decision, they needed to create more characters for the players to pull, so GGZ saw the introduction of many characters that would keep appearing throughout the series, like Raiden Mei, Bronya Zaichik, Murata Himeko, Teresa Apocalypse, and Yae Sakura. While the gameplay between the first two Honkai games was pretty much the same, GGZ would become MiHoYo's first ongoing narrative experience that laid the foundation for the Honkai universe. The game would introduce many important concepts for the series, such as the Honkai, Hershers, Stigmata, and many more.
Okay, so this game that we can't play is actually the base game for all these ideas that came up in Honkai the Third and then led to the other games. That makes so much sense.
From 2021, during the CDG lecture, Kai Aoyu admitted that they came up with the idea of building a shared cosmology for their stories.
I'm not gonna lie, he looks so young. A lot of Japanese and Chinese people, to me, look much younger than they appear. Like, the director of Final Fantasy XIV, I thought he was in his, like, 40s, 50s maybe, and he was like hitting 60s. And a lot of these people, I think it might be their diets or something. They look so much younger than what they are. This guy looks extremely young.
Back in 2014, while
I would
working on
mistake him
GGZ,
for a
they
21-year-old.
called that idea the
He's probably in
Honkai
his
universe,
30s.
and it would serve as a long-term goal for the company to build an immersive metaverse.
Today, we are going to be comparing the Anakin Skywalker cosplay replica saber to the Anakin Skywalker.
No, we won't. All right.
The person
YouTube,
tasked
am I
to
right?
create the foundation for the Honkai universe was GGZ's lead writer at that time, Lingyin Yang. She was
Who is that
responsible
girl?
for the first event where characters from a parallel world are introduced into the Honkai series. The event was
So here's the word parallel word again. Remember, we're going on a like same universe theory here, but there's obviously parallel stuff going on. Also, Genshin and Honkai the Third had a crossover in 2021, right? And no one from Genshin remembered. The Honkai the Third didn't remember. It screams parallel to me, but I don't remember.
all other world
I have to
and
look
told
more into
the
it,
story
too.
of Kiana Kaslana meeting a version of herself from a different world called Kevin Kaslana. This was
Interesting.
Kevin's introduction into the series and served as a leeway for the concept of character variant that we see throughout the games today.
Yeah,
While the
obviously.
event presented the whole encounter as a dream,
screams parallel
it was later
universe to me.
rewritten as a light novel, solidifying that it was real and Kevin was indeed another Kiana from a different world. Here's a fun fact. The event also introduced the first ever death of a playable character by having Kevin kill Bronya. During the event,
Ooh,
Kevin offered
what?
the first
What?
explanation of how the Honkai universe works at a
Parallel
cosmological
world
level.
generated
Kevin
in the
confirmed
universe.
that
So same
Mihoyo-
universe, but parallel worlds inside that universe. That's what I'm getting now.
was using the original interpretation of the many words theory and offered the earliest explanation of what would later be called the imaginary tree. Later in the year, MiHoYo released a new manga series called Benkwai Tree, also known as Honkai Third. The manga series used some of the GGZ manga as part of its story, but
Interesting.
deviated from the stories told in GGZ. Honkai Third was the foundation of what would later become Honkai Impact Third and includes manga such as Escape from Nagazora, Sakura Remembrance, and The Mystery of Stigmata. In one of the author notes from the Sakura Remembrance arc, MiHoYo uses the word world line, which is also used by Kevin in the Other World event, to refer to the world of GGZ, implying that GGZ and Honkai Third are parallel world lines to each other.
Ooh,
Later, in the second
interesting.
direction author notes, they use the same word to
So we have the same universe here, but we have parallel worlds inside that universe. And we're still going on Welt's theory, as I've been convinced on it, that they're not the same person, but you can have parallel versions of not the same person. It's kind of confusing, but I can kind of see a circle going around here, and I'll be able to explain it better later as I think about this. But not this moment, not when I'm on meds.
refer
Oh
to the
my
word
goodness.
of Honkai Impact Third. 2016 would mark the release of the third game in the Honkai series.
I do know that. This was the 2016 games. That's why we have 9 years of story to go through. So we have the first game coming out in 2010, the next game 2012, and then the next game, I forget, it was like 2013 or something, and then we have Honkai the Third coming out in 2016, then we have Genshin in 2020, we have Star Rail in 2023, and then we have ZZ in 2024. That's where we're at right now.
Honkai Impact Third. The game would continue the story of Kiana, Mei, and Bronya from the Honkai Third manga series and present a diverging path from GGZ by taking place in a parallel world.
Okay,
Not
parallel
only that,
world from
but the
GGZ.
gameplay was vastly different from the previous Honkai games, being a combat-oriented action RPG. Honkai Impact Third was also the first fully 3D game made by MiHoYo. Not long after that, the Azure Waters manga presented us with the backstories of Bronya's Saichig and Cele Volere. While the manga was created for Honkai Impact 3rd, Ling Yi would later make a post in which she recontextualized the manga for GGZ, making it canon for both games. It's important
so it's
to note
canon
that
for both
at
games.
this point, Ling Yi was still involved in the Honkai Impact 3rd story. She was responsible for the first series of colored manga such as Azure Waters, AE Invasion, Gratitude Arc, and Moon Shadow. Basically, she was behind most of the horny stuff that we see in the early story, and she also pioneered.
She was behind all the stuff. That's why Kiana was the way she was when we started the game, is because of this person. Okay. I see why now.
Popular ships like Kiame and Bronzele. After that, a new team was formed to continue the story of Honkai Impact 3rd, and Ling Yi would remain as the head writer for GGZ until this year. She recently announced that she won't be involved with the story of GGZ after the ending of the Reborn storyline, and as far as we know, she has no part in the new story arc of GGZ.
Interesting. I'm not a fan with all this the stuff she wrote, so this doesn't impact me. I'm sure she had some really good ideas for like some story beats, but the stuff that the horny stuff, as he put it, I'm not crazy in any anime about that kind of stuff or a story about that stuff, so I don't feel bad about her like leaving the series or whatever. I could be wrong. She could have wrote some like amazing story beats. I just don't know. But yeah, I'm not feeling the pain. All right.
The ending of GGZ's first major storyline, Retrospective, or Retro for short, commemorated with an animated short featuring Kiana destroying the Earth. The animation became a cult classic in the global Honkai audience, with many people falsely believing that that was the ending of GGZ, when it was just the end of the first part of the story. Soon after,
So GGZ is still going, and it's still canon to Honkai the 3rd. Interesting.
They started a new storyline called Reborn. The ending of Retro revealed that the world of GGZ was locked in a samsara that kept resetting the world if humanity lost to Honkai. This concept would later return during the Moon Arc in Honkai Impact 3rd, when
this GDZ storyline, and I knew it before I saw this, like right, well, not this video, but before he burst off to Kevin, which tells me my theory is already right. So the story of Amphoris was originally not Honkai the 3rd, but it was really GGZ, and then Honkai the 3rd took it, and then Star Wheel took it. Interesting.
We found out that the world of Honkai Impact 3rd is stuck in a 50,000 years repeating cycle, and it would also appear in Genshin Impact during the Sumeru Arc and Quest, but on a much smaller scale.
Oh, so they reused the story in every game except for ZZ so far?
And just like the Hoyoverse games, you are also stuck in a samsara of me telling
you should subscribe to this guy.
every video. Seriously though, this video series took me literal months to produce, so if you'd like to support the channel by subscribing and
I'm not gonna lie, these videos are hard, which is one of the reasons why I haven't done my power streaming videos on Star Rail yet, which I am working on. But I did a 100 girlfriend video last week, and I tried to be more creative than I have with any video. It took me 8 to 10 hours to make that stupid 20-minute video, and I'm very proud of it, by the way. But it took me so long that when I started the video, I was all like, this is going to be cake. I'm going to throw in some creative ideas. I'm going to... No. This is why people hire people to do all the editing and stuff. This is crazy work. I didn't think it was going to be like this much, but it is. I'm still going to do it because my video is... Well, my channel is not all reactions. I'm trying to do a little bit of everything because I like everything, and I know that's probably not the smartest play, but I rather, have a bunch of interests. If I'm not feeling like doing reactions one day, I want to make videos. If I don't feel like doing videos, then I can stream a video game. It's just, or talk about anime. So my channel just does a little bit of everything, and we'll see how decent that model can do in the long run. But yeah, I can see why people hire studios and stuff.
Giving this video a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it.
You should.
Thanks. During the same year, the Honkai Impact 3rd team released the Anti-Entropy visual novel. This novel introduced the alternate version of real-life scientists, and by alternate I mean that they took a page out of Fate's book and turned them into anime girls, which is,
they did. I'm not gonna lie. Fate has done that so many times, like with King Arthur and Saber. Saber's probably the most iconic character in all of Fate. And she is King Artorias and pretended to be a man for history. But yeah, that's one of the many examples that Fate has of doing such things. Like even Arthur's son is a daughter. And, you know, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, definitely from Fate, for sure.
I guess. The visual novel gave us the confirmation that the Honkai universe adheres...
No, he says he guesses, but again, I got schooled on this the other day, and found out they just wanted to make games about anime girls when they started, so they took famous people from history and made them into anime girls. Alright.
The classic string theory from physics, more exactly the M theory introduced by Edward Wheaton. The universe is revealed to be an 11-dimensional structure.
I like his
composed of
avatar.
brains,
His avatar
which in
fits him really
simple terms
well,
are
as far as
string-like
like voice and
structures that
everything. Like his avatar is clearly a drawing that he can manipulate. I like it a lot.
exist in higher dimensions. The visual novel also confirmed the existence of higher dimensional observers that are able to grant power to the people. In this case, with the help of such a being, Thomas Nancy Edison sacrificed all her possible futures and collapsed them into herself to obtain great power. Lastly, 2017 marked the beginning of the development of a new title called Honkai 4. The game would later be known as Genshin Impact, and yes, Genshin was initially supposed to be a sequel to Honkai Impact 3rd, a fact that is pretty obvious if you take a look at the alpha version of the game and some of the very early beta versions. When miHoYo applied for the stock market, they were rejected because they only had Honkai as their only major IP at that time. So, to attract new investors, they removed the word Honkai from the title of the game. This would later prove meaningless since they ended up withdrawing their application for the stock market anyway.
You can help save a baby's life.
Okay, well now it's 100% confirmed that Genshin is a Honkai game. Alright.
Since the Honkai Impact 3rd writing team didn't want to make limited time content that would affect the main story, they introduced a new storyline that used the pre-established cosmology to tell a separate story through events and would not interfere with the main plot.
Whoa, Rita looked very different. And that Rita's in Genshin as well. I should have guessed, but wow.
In this new storyline was called Sanguine Knights, and it followed the adventures of the Faceless Captain, a mysterious character based on the Captain persona, which is the player's avatar in the game. The storyline was dubbed as Captain's Bizarre Adventure, and similarly to the Otherworld event in GGZ, introduced the concept of similar-looking characters from parallel worlds. The characters would look and sometimes even have the same names as the characters from the main story, but they were completely different people. The Captain verse would continue to tell its story through events for many years along with the main story of the game. Another important event in 2018 was the release of the second Eruption manga. This manga would become the most important external material for Honkai Impact 3rd, fleshing out the world building and the cosmology of the game. It told the story of a Honkai disaster caused by the Herrscher of the Void in the year 2000 and focused on characters like Siegfried Kaslana, Cecilia Shariak, Welt Yang, Sirin, and Ado Apocalypse. This manga would expand on information about the Honkai and Herrschers and introduce important concepts such as imaginary space. Second Eruption also revealed that Honkai had a Gestalt, which is referred as the wheel of the Honkai in the game. The Durandal visual novel novel was released in
I
the
think
same
this
year,
is around where
introducing
we are
another
in the
major
story, to tell you the
cosmological
truth.
structure, the Sea of Quanta.
Yep.
The visual novel told the story of Bianca Tagina and Rita Roswaise as they traveled to
We're
a
gonna
bubble
have to,
world
like,
in
look
the
at
Sea
these
of
mangas.
Quanta. Aro described the Sea of Quanta
So
as a
that we can
chaotic
form our
space
own
between
theories.
dimensional manifolds that was parallel to the real world. The Sea of Quanta houses the so-called bubble worlds, unstable worlds that would inevitably dissolve and become data. The visual novel confirmed that the bubble worlds, just like the regular worlds, can house different versions of existing people, but character variants work a bit differently here.
Okay.
While until that point we thought that character variants could exist only as parallel versions of the same people in different worlds, in the Sea of Quanta they can exist as reflections based on a blueprint of data. For example, in the visual novel we encounter Anna.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, that fits so well. So the imaginary tree is making all these galaxies in its universe or whatever, and it's taking the same form of data, just like what Amphorius did, and making different people, but having similar hairstyles, similar names, stuff like that. They're different people, but they're made from, like, scraps of the same data. This is, I am jumping on this ship, actually, from what I know right now, and with the recent Amphorius stuff in Star Rail, we know that this isn't just an idea that was dropped. It's still continuing. I think the tree is reusing data to make the inhabitants of the universe and the worlds. This is interesting.
Charles Darwin, the daughter of the Charles Darwin, whose counterpart in reality,
a very evil man, by the way. I'm just saying that now. Charles Darwin, very evil. Alright.
he died as a child, but the Sea of Quanta used her data to create an alternate version of her in this bubble universe where she became an adult. These reflections of real people are called Star Whisperers. And finally, in 2018, Genshin released its first manga chapter. The manga introduced the character of Venti, who looks strangely similar to a character
I
from
do need to
Honkai
use the
Impact.
restroom because of my condition just a little bit more, so I will be right back, guys. I am back. Alright.
Earth Call Wendy. 1 year later, GGZ would also introduce Wendy as a character and base her on Venti's Archon outfit from the Genshin manga, further straightening the idea that all these games take place in a single cosmology. The manga also mentions the name Murata in association with the Pyro Archon, revealing that there's an entire group of red-haired people called the Children of Murata. Who else is a red-haired lady associated with fire that is called Murata?
Yep.
I've been excited.
I was
to
thinking the
receive
same
it for
thing,
a
by the
very long
way.
time. The book. The ultimate guide to rebuild.
I do have a theory about Himiko, and I do think Himiko is not entirely like the rest of the universe. And it involves Himiko's sword being like the cure found in Herta's space station, and the whole reborn by fire. You get it if you play as Himiko and like touch the sword, you get like a reborn by fire thing that happens, and I think it's very telling that Himiko is special. The rumor is we're gonna learn more about Himiko next year, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's the rumor that I've heard from very reliable sources. We're gonna learn more about Silverwolf, Blade, Himiko. I haven't heard anything about Firefly, and like I said, I can't name these sources, but sometimes I get told stuff that's not like 100% like in the public yet. But I haven't heard anything about Firefly, although I do know that Firefly is going to be something in it because there was a leak that had Firefly in it. She's not getting a new form from what I know, but she is being buffed by like having teams, and like the Super Break team is being buffed for a reason. So I feel like Firefly is going to make an appearance again, even though I haven't heard yay or nay on that front. But I do know Silverwolf and Blade are both going to have significant parts in the story. I feel like Kafka will too. I think the whole Hunters are going to have significant stuff, but it's Blade and Silverwolf are probably going to be who they start with. And then Firefly and Kafka will be later on in the story. That's what I think is going to happen. And, yeah, so I don't know what my point was. I went off on a tangent.
In 2019, Honkai Impact 3 finally introduces the concept of the Sea of Quanta in the game's story, expanding on the information from the Durandal visual novel. This period also saw the release of the second key manga. The manga was the first instance.
I wonder if I'm at 2020 or 2021 in the game. There's a lot of chapters we haven't done, like I'm not even halfway through, but I feel like the game was slower at the beginning and then got really fast up. Yes, I am live, Tomato, and I'm watching your videos. And hi, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm watching your videos and doing some lore videos. They've been very popular videos, and because I was hospitalized yesterday, I was not feeling up to streaming yesterday. So this is, I'm not 100% yet, so this is the only thing I could do today. Not really. So lore videos are always fun, and thank you for sending me all these videos. I greatly appreciate it. Alright.
The series where characters mention the imaginary tree visualization scheme. We see the introduction of Sui in the story, who uses a bubble word called the Seed of Sumeru to observe other nearby words and look for a way to...
And by the way, Tomato, I said you would be here next time, and you made it.
The Honkai. Su refers to the civilizations in the other worlds as leaves. Throughout the series, you will notice that multiple characters have different interpretations of the concept of leaf/branch, depending on how they choose to look at it. Su states that the civilizations that fail to defeat the Honkai will eventually fall into the Sea of Quanta, existing only in bubble worlds. This is the case with the civilization on Mars, which we will explore in part 2 of Honkai Impact 3.
Oh,
in 2020,
we go to Mars in Impact the 3rd? Oh my goodness, I'm excited. I'm excited.
17 of Honkai Impact 3
That's so
marks
cool.
the first mention of the imaginary tree inside the game. After studying the notes of the previous era, Arrow describes the imaginary tree and the Sea of Quanta as two forces in conflict with one another. He associates the Honkai
So the tree of the imaginary tree and the Sea of Quanta fight each other. So every time a leaf falls, the Sea of Quanta picks it up and makes it like livable still by making a bubble for it instead of a leaf. That's interesting.
The tree that tests the civilizations on it. The civilizations that pass the test will be allowed to continue existing on the tree, and the ones that fail will sink into the sea. While Ado's explanation is not exactly correct, he lays down the foundation for what would later become the most accepted understanding of the cosmology. Just like Su, Ado compares each branch to a form of civilized existence and calls each leaf a moment in time left by said civilization. During the same chapter, Ado uses the second divine key to look at other worlds in the universe. In one of the worlds, we see fallen Rosemary, an alternate version of Rita, part of the Captain Verse storyline. This confirmed that Captain Verse was indeed happening in the same cosmology as the main game. The second world would show an image of Dvalin, the winged dragon from Teyvat. A few months later, Genshin was released in September. The game tells the story of two twins traveling through different worlds. Due to certain circumstances, they end up stranded on Teyvat, a mysterious world that hides many secrets. While it was confirmed that Teyvat is part of the Honkai universe, its exact placement in the cosmology is still unknown. 2020 would end with another important event, the release of the Alien Space manga. The manga told the story of the events happening after a post-Honkai ad.
We are definitely reading that manga. It had a welt on the cover, and probably how he got to Star Rail. I want to know. I want to know.
An open world game mode inside Honkai Impact 3rd that happens 8 years in the future. A Jigsaw squad formed by Adam, Carol Peppers, and Raiden May have to deal with the invasion of a...
So it's inside the game. That's fantastic. Also, this is why people tell me that Star Rail is not happening at the same time, or Star Rail is the future of Honkai the 3rd, is probably because of this 8-year finasco right here. And I don't think that's exactly right. I think Star Rail is happening concurrently with Honkai the 3rd because Welt is still around and common in both games. Now, what we're seeing in Honkai the 3rd is probably before what is happening in Star Rail, but Honkai the 3rd is still going on in Star Rail, like concurrently with Star Rail. So, makes sense.
Alien civilization called the Sky People.
And that's why Welt can be in both games. Like the current Welt.
Mechanic of jumping and aerial combat to the game, providing a very different experience from the main game.
To read the manga, you need to finish the first part of the game because it takes place 8 years after the end of part 1. Fantastic. We will do such thing. Oh, Welt gets his little stripe right here 8 years later. So that's exactly why we know that Welt leaves the game in 8 years from this point and goes to Star Rail. Okay. But yes, we will finish part 1 before we look into this then.
An aerial combat to the game, providing a very different experience from the main game. The Alien Space manga told the story of Welt Yang and Void Archives after the invasion of the Sky People is
and we know the auto inside Star Rail is probably Void Archives. And whether this auto is actually the same auto in both universes, we will find out. Also, Himiko right here, like I said, I do believe that somehow this might be the same Himiko. Welt has always blamed himself for Himiko's death, and somehow this might be the same Himiko. In Honkai Impact, we haven't reached the present day of Star Rail yet. We're still a few years before the start of Star Rail. That's fine. I get why you guys say Star Rail is the future because of this 8-year time skip. But we haven't made it to present day of Star Rail, but Star Rail was still going on even before, the Nameless. It had a different group of Nameless and stuff. Star Rail is going on concurrently with Honkai Impact the 3rd. It's just the timeline when we started Star Rail is in the future of Honkai the 3rd. What we're playing in Honkai the 3rd.
Void Archives after the invasion of the Sky People is dealt with. The manga also serves as a prequel for Honkai Star Rail, teasing Welt's journey through the universe and connecting Honkai Star Rail to Honkai Impact 3rd. 2021.
You know what we learned at the beginning of this video, though, is even though there hasn't been any marches in other galaxies so far that we know of, the very second game of the Hoyoverse had March 7th's name mixed into it. Like, one of the main characters had an abbreviation for March in it, but it's not canon to these games.
The crossover between Honkai Impact 3rd
and
Genshin Impact.
It was,
this event had
like
from
Kiana and March put together.
Been brought over as a permanent playable character in Honkai Impact 3rd. Keqing was also part of the event as a limited time unit. Because the story implications of the two games overlapping would be major, Hoyoverse opted for this event.
This was in
to be
2021,
part of a
I
series
remember
of
this.
events dubbed by fans as the Idolverse. The Idolverse events are lighthearted and comical in nature, without any cosmological implications, for the most part. Just the characters doing silly, fun stuff. In this case, the story of the crossover happened in a parallel world where Welt and Aro came up with different game ideas for a collab between Shixel and AE. Funnily enough, the event portrayed how the two teams had very different visions and couldn't collaborate with each other, making me wonder if something similar may have happened in real life.
I was thinking the same thing.
Also collaborated in the past, with many characters from Honkai Impact 3rd being brought over to GGZ. The last time, Alicia and Pardo were added as playable characters. During the Honkai Impact 3rd Starfire Sonorat concert at the end of 2021, Hoyoverse revealed a new game in the Honkai series, officially announcing Honkai Star Rail and releasing an animated concept trailer called Reborn 2.
Oh, we have to watch that. I haven't seen this.
YouTube channel, and it's meant to be a look at a very early idea for Star Rail.
We're gonna watch that.
Like Welt, Carol,
we might watch that right after this.
To be an early design for March 7th. During the same concert, they also announced the release of the second part of a post-Honkai Odyssey. APH02 would continue the story left in part 1 and introduce a new team formed by Bronya Zajcik, Timido Cute, and Lyle Kolodi.
Oh, Bronya looks so much better. So here's the thing about it is, I do believe this is when the new director took over, the one that made Star Rail, and he took over all the Genshin or the Honkai Universe games. And they all became major story games versus just gacha games. I think this is the start of that change at the end of 2021 that made all the games more like Star Rail. That is what I remember reading about that. And I think this is about the time when it happened.
Of APH02 ended on a massive...
So that means part 2 is entirely by this new director. So...
anger, and part 3 is expected to be released sometime in the future, dealing with the time gap between the game mode and the Alien Space manga. The beginning of 2022 marked the end of Aro's journey in Honkai Impact 3rd. Aro's story arc features a character directly manipulating the basic rules that make up the cosmology and creating an entirely new world. During this arc, characters reaffirm Kevin's explanation of parallel worlds from GGZ by associating the universe with a game server where different choices made by the characters can split reality into multiple worlds with different outcomes. The concept of imaginary renormalization, a technique that allows to swap the properties of finite and infinity, was also introduced in this story arc. This technique was the key that allowed Aro to manipulate the wedge of the world and create a parallel world where Callan never died 500 years ago.
Oh, that's how Kevin's still in the story, maybe?
2023 is arguably the busiest year in the history of the Honkai series. At the beginning of the year, Honkai Impact 3rd concluded the first part of the main story, the moon's origin and finality.
Oh, I can't wait to be here.
Introduced the concept of ideas, embodiments
we are gonna have to play a lot more.
Independently of humans.
I'm
planning
to ramp up Impact the 3rd quite a bit. I'm not sure how much because I still want to stream other games, but I probably will do it more than once a week. I have it scheduled for at least once a week, but I might have to up that ante. The story's getting really good. So
through Project Stigma as an extension of humanity meant to coexist with the Honkai. The concept of Time Crystal was also introduced as a consequence of Project Stigma altering the space. Time crystals are a principle where time can be perceived in a constant loop. This event gave birth to an entity called I Lambda who could dream about the future. While moving through the Sea of Quanta, Kiana saw a projection of Bronny, an alternate version of Bronya from the Captain verse.
Silverwolf. Okay, that's why he was comparing her to Silverwolf. She looked just like Silverwolf right there. Alright, I need to use the restroom one more time. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, I'm back. Okay, so in fact, Silverwolf trailer, she's playing Honkai with that. I did not notice that. You're right, she is playing a game. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I didn't. I used that trailer a lot because I made the music video for the Starron Hunters. What Silverwolf trailer? So she's playing Honkai. You're right, she is! Oh my goodness, why did I notice that? Okay, yeah, I can't believe Silverwolf is... So we have two Bronyas within the Star Rail universe, right? That means we have Bronya and then we have Silverwolf.
Between the Captain verse and the main story. But the biggest reveal by far was the fact that the Honkai phenomena on Earth turned out to be orchestrated by a higher dimensional entity called the Cocoon of Finality.
Okay, we do know a little bit about this.
Multiple alien civilizations that propagate by assimilating other worlds into themselves through the samsara process. The finale of part 1 also cemented the player as a higher dimensional entity in the Honkai universe similar to the Cocoon of Finality. I will not go into detail.
That would make sense because we know the Trailblazer is more than just the Trailblazer. We know that the Traveler is more than just the Traveler. We know the Proxy is more than the Proxy. By the way, he hasn't linked ZZ to this at all yet, but I'm sure ZZ is somewhere in this universe as well. But all these main characters, we know that they are more than just what they seem.
On this because it's a very complicated concept to explain, but I have a different video about it where I go into more detail. So if you want to see that, I'll link it in the description. All you need to know is that Yes, we as players exist in the Honkai universe and even have the power to intervene in the stories of these games.
Yes, we do.
Alongside part 1 of the main story, 2023 also marks the ending of the Captainverse storyline in version 7.0, which is not released yet as of posting this video.
Okay, so CZ
After
wasn't
5
out yet.
years, the Captainverse storyline finally came to a conclusion in version 6.9.
Nice.
And will feature an epilogue event in version 7.0. It's important to mention that there are still some unresolved plot points in the Captainverse, but the characters achieved their main goal. As of now, it's still unclear if we'll have new Captainverse events in the future, or if we'll ever see the characters again. I certainly hope so, since I got pretty attached to them. Soon after the end of Honkai Impact
she looked cute.
GGZ also concluded the Reborn storyline, which started in 2017. The finale of Reborn confirmed the existence of a place called the Soul World, where the souls of the dead end up going. It also suggests
that looks a lot like the fields of Alicia.
With the future defining the present and not the other way around. Terminus. And just like the Cocoon of Finality from Honkai Impact,
sounds good.
The Honkai phenomenon.
So according to Tomato, Captainverse is a series of events that tell a parallel story. All right.
It's controlled by a higher dimensional entity created by the merging of multiple alien civilizations called the Wheel of the Commander. Lastly, 2023 saw the release of the fourth game in the Honkai series, Honkai Star Rail. Unlike the previous entries in the series that focused on a single world, Star Rail decided to expand and focused on traveling between multiple worlds. The game tells the story of the Astral Express crew, a group of people
the best game in the series in my opinion so far.
With the powers of the Trailblazed Eon. The MC of the game is a bat-wielding maniac who has a mysterious power inside them called a Stellaron. Star Rail greatly expanded.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was gonna say a bat wielding maniac with a mommy named Kafka. not the Stellon, but that's okay.
The cosmology of the Honkai universe and introduced the concept of eons, higher dimensional beings that exist throughout the universe. Eons are limited by their paths, philosophical concepts born as congregations of imaginary energy.
Those are it's really funny that he shows that because those were the Genius Society's members. Those were not the eons. Those are Genius Society members.
Philosophical concepts born as congregations of imaginary energy. Mortals can also access these paths and get powers from them. Zendar Wankuvabara, the first member of the Genius Society, introduced a new interpretation of the imaginary tree visualization scheme. While very similar to Ado, Zandar's interpretation chooses to look at the tree not only from the angle of time, but also from the angle of space. Xandar keeps the view that each branch is a form of civilized existence, with each leaf being a moment in time for said civilization, but he also looks at the leaves from the perspective of space, associating each leaf on the tree to a star system separated by imaginary energy from others. The imaginary energy made traversing...
So that's the barrier that I was talking about, that is parallel universes. Whether you want to believe in parallel universes or the same universe is more correct, but because of this imaginary line, it's not just like traveling the universe, right? There is a wall there. There has always been a wall here. That's why the Honkai energy is lower. That's why those people with the same names, not the same people, but same like body structures and stuff. In this universe, you're not just a snowflake where you're one of a kind. You're one of many because of the imaginary tree taking data and reusing that data over and over again to write the universes. In my opinion, the leaves are born from the tree, right? So the data is extrapolated over and over again, and you get different versions and different people with all the same commonality. So yeah, the imaginary barrier, which kind of makes it a parallel universe in a way.
It's impossible until eons.
It's a parallel, but it's not without a barrier. So when you think of parallel, you instantly think of a mirror reflecting the same reflection at you. It's a mirror, but it's not reflecting the same reflection. It's reflecting similarities, but not the same reflection. All right.
Here then change everyone's perspective.
I was the first one to ever join the military in my family. I knew that I wanted to go back to school and produce a big.
So this makes what Welt and Archives did something even more tremendous, and why Welt can't find his way back and stuff like this, like instantly, is because there's an imaginary barrier between Honkai the Third and Star Rail that they broke the barrier somehow. Only certain things can cross the barrier, such as the Star Rail train. Oh, okay. So they didn't break the barrier, but Welt had a train very similar to the Astro Express. Interesting. Okay.
To wrap things up, I want to give you a quick look at what each game is doing now and talk about the future. As the oldest sibling, GGZ is quickly approaching its 10th anniversary. The game ended the Reborn storyline at the beginning of this year,
yeah, next year,
and announced a new one called, very fittingly, Honkai Gakuen. The events of Honkai Gakuen happened several years in the future and introduced new characters and a new threat. Unfortunately, the game closed its global servers in 2021 due to poor translations and having a minuscule player base. Despite that, the game is still very active in China and Japan, having impressive numbers in terms of revenue for a 10-year-old game. Honkai Impact 3rd is in the middle of part 1.5, which consists of smaller storylines focusing on characters that didn't have enough development in part 1, such as Sele and Fu Hua. Part 2 is expected to start in February next year.
Fantastic.
During the Hoyoverse TGS presentation from a few weeks ago, Dawei revealed that...
Yeah, so we're already beyond this. We'll be able to play part 2, like right when we get there. So... certain things can cross barrier like the train. There's a divine key that a train can travel between realities, I think. It's called Cosmic Juggernaut? Is that Judgment or Juggernaut? Okay. Either way,
Part 2
that sounds great.
Bubble worlds around Mars and feature a new cast of characters.
I can't wait to get to Mars. I think Mars will be super cool.
Improvement to the graphics, an enriched combat.
I got told that the graphics got better.
Mechanic and the joint attacks from
okay.
APHO and many more. The update will bring the game closer in quality to its younger siblings. Genshin just celebrated its 3rd anniversary. Okay, celebrated might be a bit of a stretch here. The game is around the halfway mark of the Teyvat chapter, having released 5 out of the 7 nations of Teyvat. Star Rail, on the other hand, it's still in its infancy and recently wrapped up the story on the Lofu. In my opinion, this is a great time to be a fan of the Honkai series and Hoyoverse games in general. Even the older games still receive plenty of love and incredible updates. So if you were ever thinking of jumping into the series, or maybe you already play one of the Honkai games and want to expand your knowledge of the series, this is the best time for you to try out the other games. Except for GGZ, of course, since it's not on global anymore.
Yep.
But hey, if you know Japanese or Chinese, you can still play it.
I don't, unfortunately. Maybe if I could get Google Translation app, I would totally do that. I think the Herschel of the Void could also cross the barrier, because maybe it's special to the power of the Void. That would make sense. Early Star Rail trailer, I do want to check that out, and then again, I will have the links for you guys in the description of the videos we watched today. Earlier Star Rail trailer. Oh, Star Rail concept trailer, maybe. Okay, this looks like it. This is it. We are gonna watch this. We'll like it because we are reacting to it. But I really want to see this before we close.
Chicken tender bites. Let's find out if they live up to the hype. The wait is over.
I go to Slim Chicken, so I know that my computer is tracking my movements now, because I never had a Slim Chicken ad till now. All right. Stupid DoorDash app. Alright, so the Trailblazer. I like the way the Trailblazer looks now versus this.
彼女には見えへんのか。
I'm gonna stay silent for most of this, and then I'll talk about it afterwards, just simply because I don't know what we're watching. But it's spectacular so far. Okay, Astro Express. How long is this trailer? Oh, it's not even that long. Okay, good. Okay, that's March. That's not... The Trailblazer might have started out as March. Or maybe those were two different characters, maybe. Welt's there. I kind of remember seeing something like this. I think this was in one of the videos we watched, and I thought this was canon. I thought this was canon. I didn't see the March wannabe, though. I like our March. Like, this is like Trailblazer version of March. So this isn't canon. Fortune will return. They may use this character somehow. I don't know. She likes boba tea for some reason.
このお守り。あげる。今の私ができることはこれくらいかな。
So Kiana? That's how they were gonna originally tie the game.
ベルトさん、うちまた夢見たんや。
I like what we got. I like what we got. The trailer was okay. I was hoping for something better, to tell you the truth, but it was okay. What we'll see in Honkai Star Rail launches the railway. Earth without the Honkai exists? Alright, time to move to space. The animation looks a lot. Mr. Yang, I had that dream again. Me too, Cameron. Just seeing the concept, I'm happy to see again. The whole trailer is watching in Star Wars exists. Adios. Me on Genshin. Adios. I remember the original Reborn. Okay. Yeah, so that's our lore video today. I think we watched a lot of cool stuff. Thank you, Tomato, for always providing me with videos. Yeah, that's going to end it for today. Thank you, everybody, and everybody who will watch. We'll do more lore videos like this later on as well. I did find some stuff that I wanted to share as well. But we will be ramping up Honkai the third play so that we can catch up to the story. So I will see you guys in the upcoming days. I will have more AMVs, of course. I will have more anime for you guys to watch, as I have driven down to anime that no one has ever seen before, and I will let you guys know reviews on it and recommendations and other things like that. The channel will continue its record-breaking pace of videos and content for you guys. So thank you so much for all your subs and everything. I greatly appreciate it. All the extra watch time, I greatly appreciate it, and thank you so much, guys. It means a lot to me. And Tomato, thanks again. All right, have a great day, guys. God bless.